Picture this. It's 1989 and you work for Atari. You and 3 of your coworkers are responsible for 60% of $100 million in profit. But you only make $30K a year. How would you feel? This was the reality for David Crane, Bob Whitehead, Alan Miller, and Larry Kaplan. This is the history of Activision. The four would soon approach the president of Atari, Ray Kazier, who flat out said, "You guys are no more important to this product than the people on the assembly line who put the cartridges together." This caused bad blood between the four and Atari, prompting the four to leave. According to Crane, even the vice president was disgusted by these words, saying, "Well, whatever you guys decide to do, I hope we can do business in the future." The four would quickly turn to a lawyer to discuss options. This meeting would lead to the four meeting Jim Levy, who was trying to make a new development company for home computers. The four would soon pitch the idea of developing for the Atari instead. Jim and his investors thought this was a great idea, and so the 4-5 got to work. This is the group that would come to form Activision, the name of which was chosen in part to spite Atari, as it would appear in catalogs first. Of course, Atari soon caught wind of all this and tried multiple times to take out the startup. However, Activision was prepared for this, even setting aside funds in the very beginning to deal with lawsuits. And that's not the only precaution the group had. They did everything, even going as far as designing new software and tools from the ground up. They made sure nothing could be considered Atari's property. Moving forward, Activision would focus on creating original content as to not live in the shadows of coin-op machines with terrible ports at best. Since Activision was comprised of not only previous Atari employees but the best of the crop, they knew the machine better than anyone. Activision would have to fight in its early days to not be seen as a cheap knockoff. Since they were the first ever third-party developer, they knew this all too well, and took many steps to be seen as official. They created uniform packaging, made their logo appear before every game, and put the developers' names straight on the box. By 1982, Atari was starting to be overshadowed by Activision, with games like River Raid and Pitfall seemingly becoming classics. 82 also saw the court ruling in favor of Activision, declaring the Atari 2600 an open platform, making legal battles between the two all but disappear. The court ruling would also cause the company to go public the following year and cause a developmental boom. Activision would gain new star developers this year, including Gary Kitchen and his team, forming the company's new East Coast studio. Though all was not good, soon Activision would face the same recession of the market like everyone else. Upstarts flooded the scene and would fade from existence, filling store shelves with stock of cheap games, allowing many studios to be lost in the sea of price tags. Activision would soon restructure its company by making one-off computer toys and coding gadgets. They would also buy Infocom, the leading developer of text-based adventure games. But this would get Jim Levy in trouble with Activision's board of directors, as Infocom had little viability. He would soon be replaced by Bruce Davis, who previously headed Activision's main rival in Magic. Davis would change the work environment and rebrand the company to Mediagenic. This, along with market conditions, would cause David Crane and his followers to leave and form Absolute Entertainment. When the market bounced back and demand was high for the company's game, no one left at the company could develop them. Soon, Absolute would produce games for the 2600 along with being contracted with Atari and Activision to make games for their profit. At one point, there were 3 companies doing 2600 games: Atari, Activision, and Absolute Entertainment. And Gary Kitchen's team was behind all of them. This shell of what the company would continue until 1991, when they would sell off 25% of the company to Bobby Kotick. The new self-appointed CEO Kotick was starstruck to get the brand of Activision. However, he would soon realize that he was now $20 million in debt. Kotick would move the company to Santa Monica while closing the Silicon Valley office. The rebuild of the company was slow, but soon games like Return to Zork and a reimagined Pitfall would gain some traction. By 1995, Activision started to look like its old self, except there was now a slightly higher valuation of PC gaming. Activision would soon start big partnerships and buyouts, buying out the likes of Neversoft after the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which would come to be one of their biggest successes. 2005 would see the start of a battle with a new main rival, that being EA. Activision would buy Infinity Ward to surmise EA by using their own developers against them. Activision would soon buy out many companies in the following decade, including Red Octane, Bizarre Creations, and the biggest of all, Vivendi Universal, which was so valuable of an acquisition to the company that Activision's entire network was put up for it. This Activision is what formed Activision Blizzard, giving Activision ownership of the most profitable game to date at the time, World of Warcraft. This also set the stage for Activision to reclaim its spot at the top of all third-party developers. Sadly though, the acquisition also saw Activision start to slip back to its commercial side, overly controlling its developers and staff just like Atari. Many of Infinity Ward's staff would soon make their depart, just like the founders of the company did with their previous employer. Today, Activision still stands as a giant in the industry. They still produce games to the same high standard as they originally did, perhaps even more so. But can it overcome its past hardships? Will it prevail where it once failed? Only time will tell. This was the history of Activision.